this. This is kind of like collab of the generations. Everyone is going to talk about this one. So we're doing this on multiple streams at the same time. So if you're a fan of Danny, you're watching it on his channel. If you subscribe to me, or watching it on my channel, we'll probably have like description and all of that on all the like links to each other. But for now, you're getting the same stream
Mhm.
for both of them. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be playing a role of kind of like senior developer here, and Danny is going to play a role of junior developer, and we're going to talk about like technologies that are newer, interesting, like promising, right?
Hmm.
Everyone is kind of like talking about it now with Astro. So, Danny, if you can kind of like describe what you
Hmm.
what you know about it, and like what you want to learn, I guess.
Yeah. So definitely, I keep my pulse on finger on the pulse of tech Twitter, and recently Astro has just really been gaining a ton of momentum in such a short period of time. I mean, it's been out for a couple years or a year at least, and I've been hearing about hydration and islands architecture and all that stuff. And Ben Holmes, the guy who used to he created a plugin called Slinkity for the 11T static site generator, and he is now working at Astro. So that also got me interested because I was looking at 11T and just trying to figure out what is this static site generation, Hugo Jekyll, this whole it's almost like an alternate reality of
Yeah,
there's the spas and everybody went that way, but then there's this other way where it's like HTML first and they don't care that I think one of the differences between MPAs and SPAs that I found really fascinating was the MPA, if you hit anything, it'll reload the page. The little arrow will hit into an X. And whereas with the spa, the navigation is just so quick, right? So that was a feature that I was like, that's really cool that spas have it. I'm kind of bothered that 11T and all that doesn't have it. But then I went to eBay, which uses Marco, which is a static site generator, and I was clicking through it and I was like, if I didn't know that this was an SPA, I would think it was an SPA. The performance was that good. So
yeah, yeah.
now I'm like, okay, Astro, you guys guarantee amazing performance. That's super awesome. I think React really needs you. I'm using Vue with Vitesse, the Vitesse template by Anthony Fu, and he added the static site generator plugin. And on Lighthouse, my website's scoring in the 90s. So in my mind, I'm like, maybe I don't think Astro is right for my personal blog site because in my labs and blogs, I install all sorts of packages just for one lab. So I need code splitting for sure, but it just seems like Vitesse and Vue are handling it well. So I'm skeptical. Like I don't. The only reason I'd use Isles, which we're gonna look at in a second, or Astro is like they say for content heavy site that doesn't have too much dynamic interactivity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and since you're such a big fan of Vue, I decided to do it with IELTS instead of Astro, which almost almost is the same thing, but in some ways it's not. The problem with IELTS is that it's like less used software and it's like less polished. But I
Yeah.
mean, like just a few months ago, Astro wasn't like a 1.0 also. So
Yeah.
it's like it's early technology, but I think you're going to be like just more comfortable with looking through it. So
Hmm.
so let's share your screen and let's try to kind of like go through this. And I'm just curious to see with your own kind of like fresh eyes.
Hmm.
I mean, they are not that fresh. You said that you're kind of like following Astro and like watch some tutorials, so you will probably like know more than some people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it should be like a cool experience to just to go through this.
Yeah. I mean, I had heard of Isles months ago, but you mentioned it today, and I was like, oh yeah, Isles. I did remember that, but I didn't realize that it's doing a lot of what Astro's trying to do.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fascinating. Yeah. So here we are on the website. And I usually will just scan down here. And now I'm a window, a tab hoarder, so I'll just like save those. Partial hydration, ship JavaScript only for the interactive bits. By default, that's 0. That's just like Astro.
Yep, yep.
And it works with Vue, Preact, Solid, Svelte. No React?
Yeah, I actually asked them on Twitter, and they're like, "It's like, why would you use React?" Like, they were offended by the idea.
Oh gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah. Front end framework politics. Okay. Markdown support. Yeah. Vitesse, I started using Markdown support, and now I'm like, I can't live without it. Batteries include layouts, routing. So this sounds like a lot like Vitesse, except for this part.
And also like Astro, so it's
Yeah. I think more people need to use Vitesse. They'll just be blown away. All right. So it uses MDX for their Markdown. Client directives just like Astro. This site is built with ISLEs.
and it actually has pretty good lighthouse scores, even though they're like Astro has better ones, but they have their docs and their oh no.
Sorry, also, it was freezing in here. That
That's
AC
fine. Yeah,
blowing light
so
on me.
Astro actually like also has a pretty good scores, but Astro has like a separate docs website, so it's a bit like easier, I guess, on the load. But IELTS is like including docs right in the front page, so it's I don't know. They probably got like a few points for that, but so they don't have like 100, they have like 97 or something like that. So
Mhm.
it's a like a faster it's fast site. That's
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, when I look at this little loader button, it's not. Is it acting
yeah.
as an SPA right now?
I think so. Yeah, I
Oh,
haven't looked at the like source code of this website, but yeah, it's
interesting. Okay, yeah, because sometimes I feel like the real pain, I guess, is felt by people on slow internet connections. Because for us, for me right now, it just doesn't matter.
yeah.
But if I were on 3G, I'd be pretty.
Yeah, probably if you disable like JavaScript, you can look at it as a MPA. But
Okay.
yeah, so let's get started. How familiar are you with PNPM?
PNPM, I started using it. Woohoo!
Okay,
All
so
right, so yeah, shall I
that's
get
just for
something
you
going?
then. Yeah,
Okay, let's see. Let me go to my little Danny Devs, and we'll just get a new folder. We'll call this Isle stuff.
I think you're
And
doing it probably on the second monitor. So
yeah, sorry, I didn't want to show any like sensitive
oh, okay, that makes sense then.
files. So I use CMDR. I really love CMDR. Let's go
I
ahead.
haven't used Windows for like a decade, so I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
any
we had
like
a little chat about
I don't
Windows.
know any of like Windows advancements since then.
They're both bullies. Okay, so let's see here. This is all
I
the
think it's hard.
details.
So it was like PNPM and PNPM something. Yeah,
Yeah, here we go.
great.
Don't hate me for copying and pasting.
You forgot the P. That's the most important part.
Okay, let's go do that.
Yeah.
I'll
So
sure.
right. So as for the options, like the project name doesn't matter, so we can just press enter. So here we can try I don't know like solid,
Okay.
and on the next one We won't use testing, but we
Yep.
can just add it to see like the files that it creates.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah.
npm install, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the actual provide instructions from npm. That's fine.
Yeah. Some newbies are gonna be like npm. Oh, what's wrong? That's not good.
Yeah, I wonder if someone had to update that because like people were getting
For
confused.
sure. Yeah. Uh-oh. Oh, that's okay. I don't think Vite plugin solid.
It was working on my computer just.
Alexa, sorry. Okay. I guess we can ignore that and ignore
Okay.
her.
So what's the error? Is it like just a?
I've seen this before. It's like a unmet peer dependency. I think
It
usually,
seems like a warning, right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but
It's not a fatal thing, I don't think.
okay.
I guess it's solid is still using Vite 2 point something, maybe. I'm not sure.
Mm.
Okay, let's take a look at the folder structure.
Yeah, you can see MDX here.
Yeah. Now let's go ahead. Oops. Run up server. Uh-oh. Let's look at the JSON. Did I do the right thing? npm run dev, right?
I think you did. On Windows, absolute pass. What's happening?
Only URLs with a scheme in file that are supported by the default ESM on Windows. Absolute paths must be valid.
Are you using some kind of like WSL or something like Linux emulation?
No, nope.
Yeah, that's probably it. You probably should use something like that.
Oh, there. It's just not working with Windows, huh?
Yeah, that's the most stuff.
Ah, that they didn't test it enough on Windows then, huh?
Uh-huh.
I have WSL, but that's a whole
I never
nother
tried it
rabbit
myself,
hole.
so yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a whole. That's gonna take 5-10 minutes to get myself situated. But that's weird, huh? We should file a bug report.
right.
This becomes how to contribute
Remember
to
that?
open source.
Yeah, sometimes in Windows, if you have like a space inside of the folders or something, it will like everything will stop working. But yeah, I don't know like apart from that.
Oh yeah, that's kind of not. That's I mean, I could. Where is it exactly?
Right. So if you don't know how to, I mean, we can try also like maybe like no. I was saying that maybe we can
Oh
try it like not installing Solid or something, but I think we
yeah,
installed kind of like it's probably like the Vite itself or something like that is crashing.
yeah. Actually, Yaroslav, I think there's like an extra thingy here, right? /
Right. I don't know how that should look on Windows, so it's
Definitely shouldn't have 3 of them.
I wouldn't know.
Mhm. Yeah, so here it says valid file : 2 / So, well, should I try it again without solid?
I'm just quickly like looking at their documentation just to check if they
Okay.
have like Windows support. So far, I found 4 issues that are like Windows is not working,
Mm.
and all of them are closed.
That means they fixed them, right?
So that means that
Or
it
ignored them?
probably works in Windows sometimes.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. So let's try to create just another template. I was also wondering. So when you were uh, when you were creating like this this thing with like next, maybe we can try it like different version.
Oh, okay. I see what. Yeah. Okay. So let's see.
So instead of next, maybe we can use some other version. Which one do I use, by the way?
Yeah. Which versions are they on?
Mine is 084.
084. Okay.
So
Might
I
as well
don't
give it a
know
shot.
if that's good or not.
All
You
right.
forgot the dot. So 0.8.4.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's give that a shot.
Nope.
No matching versions. Oh, 0.8.2.
Oh yeah, so that's probably the version of files, but that's not the version of like the thing that like create aisles. Yeah,
I
that
see.
makes sense. So
So
yeah, let's just try next again and just let's
yeah,
try to install
rock
less
solid.
stuff. Maybe that will help. If not, we will just try like they have stack blitz, so we can just use that environment.
So we'll
So
say
no.
no. We'll say no,
uh,
just to be conservative.
I think you forgot to do like CD.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Pnp install.
No
Oh,
one tested stuff in Windows, so that's yeah, 0.84. You have the same version, so
well, yeah. I made it to the final round of the job that I was talking about before. So they'll probably
yeah,
give me a Mac, MacBook Pro. So I'm probably off to the Windows side again.
here.
All
Yeah.
right, so let's go ahead and
All of
split
your
the.
problems are going to be solved with Mac.
Is the new chip? Is it all settled in and all the little bugs are
I,
flying
I,
away?
I used Mac like once every like 5 years, so this time it's it's a bit better. Uh, like, oh,
Yeah,
yay!
something about that. Yeah. Okay. Great.
Okay, so this is a beta software, so stuff happens.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So we did it. Awesome.
right, let's look at the I think like about page, right? So like on the bottom they have like a link on about. So this page is rendered with that MDX file that we just looked at. So and actually
Mhm.
like I think it like HMR works. So if you update your Markdown file, the page will automatically update.
Mhm.
You probably don't think that it's a big deal, but when I started doing like my first blog with Next.js, it's
Mhm.
not true. If you change your Markdown files, your page is not updated.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hot module. I think. Yeah. Ever since Veet came out, it's just been amazing. So let's check it out. Yeah.
You need to go to about page.
Oh, okay. So if we
Did
go
it do
here.
anything? Oh no. I guess it's different in that template. I was I was sure that about is MDX and this one is Vue.
Oh, okay. So it's home is MDX. About is
Uh-huh.
yeah. So that's pretty cool. I mean,
Does that look like Vue?
this yeah, just well, wait a second. What is this page tag? So I guess that's like some metadata, right? Usually I see this as head, but okay, they did it as page. We got our template style. Yeah. Just missing our script tag. And index has front matter. Then welcome. Okay, where's welcome? Right here. Whoa. Okay, so I think these are slots, right?
Yeah, it's funny that like MDX started as like React and React stuff, but
Mhm.
you can use Vue components right in MDX.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I know Markdown's fairly friendly with HTML, right? But yeah, when I learned that Vue components can be embedded in Markdown, I was like, that's cool. They must have engineered something, right?
Yeah, there is a difference between like Markdown and MDX, and even like Markdown format itself. It has like many flavors, as they call it. So like
Mhm.
there's like a GitHub flavored Markdown, and
Right,
there's like
right.
a common Markdown, I think. Yeah, we used to support all that stuff, so it
Mhm.
wasn't cool. Yeah, so I think yeah, so I think like the layout is that thing that gets used when you do like page
Yeah.
in MDX file. So in V, that's going to be like index HTML or something like that, right?
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
just your like head, body, like metadata and all that stuff. If you
I
don't
see.
use server-side rendering.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, this is sort of normally it'd be an index HTML, but yeah, it's yeah. It's funky. It's different for a little bit funky for me, but I'm curious. They don't really have to specify the layout, huh? Because in Vitesse, we use a little YAML thing at the bottom to
Uh-huh.
specify the layout as
Yeah, it's
default.
similar in Astro. You have to like every page should have like
Mhm.
a layout specified.
So that's very interesting that this doesn't seem. I guess it. Okay, so I guess they just make it just happen with the default. What else would I look at here? Yeah, it's very simple. Just IELTS TypeScript.
Yeah, so the interesting file in terms of configuration is actually like IELTS config or something like that.
I see.
So it's done in similar style as Vite config is, and I think you can pass like Vite options to it as well. I
Hmm.
don't think they have like a separate Vite config file.
I see. So what I do if I were really gonna use this is I would let's check the activity. The joyful. Okay, so it's made by that's probably Italian. Yeah, Maximo Mussini. Let's give it a star. And okay, so he's still working on it. Pretty, yeah, cool. Well, should I go back to the this page?
I mean, you can kind of. Do you have like
Remix
a
it?
thing in mind that you wanna try? You wanna like maybe like a feature like view from ViewPress that you're like, oh, I wonder if there's the same feature here.
Um, I think for me, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but I had been just doing a table of contents and everything in my own personal site just by hand,
Hmm.
and I learned about globs and using it's a way to organize your blog content programmatically. But that's not necessarily related to aisles. I guess we could make something. It's real simple.
Right. So in terms of like Astro or like Fresh or IELTS, uh, it is kind of like expected for you when you work in your blog. You just create like a post, basically like route,
Hmm.
and there is your document. But then tools that do static site, how do they call it? Like static site generators. So like Jekyll or Hugo or what was the other one, like 11T and all of those, they would usually have like some concept of like creating kind of like um, listing pages, I guess. I don't know like what's the proper terminology is, but like a page for every post with that tag, or like page for every post like posted on that month and all that stuff.
Right, right.
So tools like Astro will not actually have something like that. You have to kind of do it yourself, and
Mhm.
that's where like having like some kind of like globes, or like a way of like listing all of the posts like from this directory or something like that. That's where it kind of like plays out, because that's the something like Hugo, they will just give you a way to kind of like hook into that system, or like just change the template of that page that's already there. But
Mhm.
here, like everything has to be has to be created. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
So
Hugo comes with with a system for managing your blogs.
yeah, that's exactly why people kind of like
Yeah,
want to use it, because
definitely. I could use it.
it's more like like WordPress. It's more like a content management
Yeah,
system
exactly.
than
Yeah.
just like generating websites, because it's easy to generate websites.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's true. That I guess I didn't mind doing it by hand because I knew at some point I would go out and research how to do it, how to roll my own system.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is really interesting
Okay, so
because
there is one thing that I wanna try
Mhm.
is so if you go to like terminal, and instead of like running dev, you can run build. Mhm. So it will create, I think, like dist folder, or I don't remember what's the name of the folder
Mhm.
is, but yeah.
Yep.
So um, this is like static website that you can put on like Netlify, or something like that.
Mhm.
And uh, I mean, it's pretty similar to what you get from like any other framework, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The interesting part is like where to look at like JavaScript. How much JavaScript did it generate? So if you go to assets,
There's none because we have none.
yes.
Okay, so I mean, essentially, if we add a little button or whatever, then we can just kind of label it, right? Like tell aisles lazy loaded or loaded on visibility. I think that's what Astro does, or just
Uh-huh.
load it up immediately. Um, should
Yeah,
we do?
and the thing is that if you try to do it in like in something like Next, or like Next or Remix or something like that,
Mhm.
you will be sending the whole like React, whole view, like everything, and your whole app is going to be uh, like re-rendered on client side. So like in Remix, you can like go into your like template and like remove script tag, so
Mhm.
that you're basically like telling Remix, no, please don't send any JavaScript, and it will like work like that. So it will generate like in terms of Remix, it's like it's always service side. I think I don't remember if they added SSG or not, but at least it will not have JavaScript. Everything will run on the server once. It will send you like CSS, HTML, and like images, but
Mhm.
they will not send you JavaScript. And
For
here,
remix, you're talking
huh?
about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
you can tweak
similar.
like all the other frameworks to do something like that, but it's like there's you need to basically like opt out, and in island architecture frameworks, you need to opt in into
In uh-huh.
JavaScript. So like, oh no, 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 we don't use JavaScript here. It looks like Vue, it looks like React or something. No, 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 we don't really actually use it.
Mm. Well, yeah, that's a good point that you make because Vue is pretty light relative to React, I think. But yeah,
I mean, it's
to have
only half the size, I think.
yeah, only yeah, so half is decent, but it's still yeah big compared to nothing all HTML.
Yeah, yeah,
I think Solid even has a They ship a little bit. They ship their reactivity, some sort of subscription system
Uh-huh.
is shipped immediately, but it's very small.
Right. So in terms of page, just like bundle size of frameworks. So like Angular is, I think, like the biggest one. React is like pretty big. Vue is probably like half of React, and there are
Mhm.
like a lot of frameworks that are kind of like Svelte level. So it's probably like half of the Vue again.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there are like few frameworks that work on really like slim bundles,
Yeah.
and
React.
that's like Preact, Solid, and maybe like Marco Quick, all of that stuff. Those will do maybe like 10% of what React is, or something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, I was actually wanted to ask you a question because I was gonna install Phaser, which is
Uh
a
huh.
JavaScript framework, but it was like the download alone was like over 60 megabytes. I'm pretty sure. Um,
So is it like a game engine, or what
yeah,
does it do?
a full-on, pretty mature game engine,
Uh-huh.
2D game engine, and I'm pretty sure Vite will code split it, but yeah, I never got around to fully installing. I was installing it and it was taking forever, but um, only when people visit that page where Phaser is being used
Yeah.
will it start downloading that, right?
Right.
Or
The lazy loading part is done in a lot of frameworks. So if
Mhm.
you're doing, I don't know, like Noxt or something like that. I haven't used VTest, so like I know that you're more familiar with that one, but like I don't have any
Totally.
like any comparison on that. So what they do is they have like lazy loading. So when you're working on your, I don't know, like dashboard, you make sure that only like pages that actually use this library will
Yeah.
use it, and they import it through some kind of like instead of like import something, you will call like dynamic import. So like
Mhm.
and like in React, it's like React.lazy. In Vue, I assume there's like something similar to that. So
Interesting, yeah.
and that makes sure that will basically like split your bundle into stuff that depends on this thing and the stuff that doesn't. And then during your navigation, when you're navigating on the page that requires this stuff, you will download that bundle. That this way, and the file-based routing kind of like frameworks, they will do all of this stuff usually automatically. So
Mhm.
if you're working on your like landing page and your dashboard, they will make sure that only like stuff that is used on the main like landing page will be used. But we stopped the dev server. That's why it's not working.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and once you're navigating to dashboard, that's when you're like downloading all of the like stuff that's like not
Yeah.
that's required on that page but wasn't needed on that page, and the other way around. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're using something like Vite or Create React App, you have to do like most of this stuff manually. You have to keep
Manually.
track of like routing and like how it depends.
That's interesting because, yeah, I haven't done anything, in my setup, my Vitesse setup, and I think it just does it automatically because I do have a
Yeah, yeah.
lot of libraries like Matter.js for game physics. For my labs, I just install packages and then play around with them. So I have a lot of packages, but yeah, I'm not exactly don't know what's going on, but my Lighthouse scores are very high. So
Uh,
I'm like, I
right.
think it's doing it automatically.
Yeah, they're not going to be very high for like for the pages that actually use all of this stuff.
Uh, yeah, I guess what happened here? A page, oops. Yeah, so it's not working right now, right? Because the
So
JavaScript is
I
not.
think I think they actually have a bug. So when I was trying it on my computer recently, uh, the like view in templates was running client side code if you don't compile it. So so let's just see. So you added this button inside the like template itself,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
complaining to you about script tag. Do you know what's the problem is?
Oh, is it complaining? Where
I
did it?
mean, there's like squiggly line, so I don't know if that's.
Oh, the little. Okay, let's take a look at that.
Oh, yeah,
Is it wanting
it's
to?
just like enforcing TypeScript.
I'll enforce it and ignore it.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So,
yeah. So here's the like first catch, I guess,
mhm.
is that uh, so uh, you have to imagine that there is like a template part and there is like app part,
Okay.
and the template can only run on the server. It can only generate HTML.
Oh.
So all the JavaScript code that you will have in like Astro template or like in like here in template, it
Mhm.
will actually run on kind of like different different level. So like in Astro, if you have script tag and you put like console log in it, it will just send that HTML of a script tag and of a console log.
Uh-huh.
So it's not exactly like view setup function, right?
Uh-huh.
It's just sending it as HTML. So I wonder if you can
Hmm.
check like the like source code of the page, what is getting generated. So I wonder if it just sent the script tag over HTML.
Okay. So let's take a look.
Yeah. So if you go to elements and just like search for script, something like that, it's probably Control F. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so let's look at the like this is like there is going to be like few script tags for Vite and like HMR and all that stuff. But okay, so that's that's looking
That's
like
theirs, right?
maybe one of ours. Okay, so it's framework code for IELTS. So
Mhm.
let's search for next one.
There's one more.
Okay, and let's look at that one. Oh, so it looks like it just like ignored
Yeah.
everything that you wrote. So
Mhm.
I wonder if you remove a setup from that thing. Like I never tested that. Like I tested that for Astro, but I never tested that for IELTS. So I
Okay.
wonder
So
how. So you can probably leave the lang, but okay, let's do just script.
okay.
So actually, Vite, these scripts are getting uh, transformed by Vite in some cases. I'm not like 100% sure how that works. So
Okay.
let's just like okay. So it's
So
just six stacks. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it changed it.
it changed. Yeah. Yeah. Two of them. So yeah. Nope.
So because you have like an angle bracket on the end, there are like
Mhm.
some scripts that are doing like type
Oh,
or
you're
something like
right.
that.
You're
That's
right.
why
Yeah.
you don't find like
Astro.
every one of them. Yeah, that seems like a framework code.
Mhm.
Did we break it? I think it's like a blank screen right now.
I know, right? What happened? That's funny.
Can you check like terminal just to see if oh no, it's there.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So I think I deleted the media query, so it's freaking out.
Interesting.
It's not responsive. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah. So I guess a natural question I'd have is, okay, how do I now enable it?
Yes. So for that, you are going to use islands. So you can keep your code for now. We just will move it to the other file. So the place to do that is like you have folder called components,
Mhm.
and you just create a new file like .view file.
Oh, what does this component give me? Like a button?
Yeah, I think you have to do it like the capital letter, but I'm not sure if that's like a
Oh, yeah, yeah,
convention or like
yeah.
required thing.
Set it convention, yeah. So it doesn't step on HTML's toes.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So now this is like a this is this is where we are in app territory, and this is where you're in Vue like land. It's no longer a template. It's no longer just running and on server and turning HTML into HTML. This is like where you can do all of the stuff that you would usually do, including script setup function.
Okay. So how do I connect to the template though?
Right. So now I think it's using like Vue automatical like component discovery. So if you go to like components something DTS, it should add your button there. Yeah, I think this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
So now you can just use a button component inside of your templates.
Okay, so let me just make sure.
So whenever they draw like those diagrams with islands,
Yeah.
we are doing this like colored rectangle right now.
Mhm. Interesting. So yeah. The hydration, the JavaScript code is flowing into. So you said I can just use it here now.
So in your
For the
page,
button.
instead of this button, you do like capital, yeah, and it
And
should like discover it. And
I
yeah,
guess
I mean we can remove this script tag now.
okay. Oh yeah, remove this. Okay. So that's really funky. Yeah, that's interesting. And
Yeah, in Fresh,
auto import?
yeah, it should work. Yeah.
Okay.
So in Fresh, what they do is they have like a separate folder that's called islands. So, did it work?
Um
There is a
Where's my
trick to that.
console log?
So I'm
Yeah,
going.
Sorry. I was gonna do an alert, but yeah, it's just a console
Yeah.
log. Yeah, it's
So
working.
can you try
Oh,
building
cool.
it again into
Okay.
HTML? There is a seems to be like a bug, or maybe that's how they did it. But um, like in Astro, your button wouldn't work, and I'm going
Oh
to explain
no.
why. Yeah. So let's go to dist folder and let's look at the what JavaScript got included. It's a trick question. There is none.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it translates JavaScript into.
What? And the answer is that it's the same kind of like opt-in thing.
Yeah.
When you're using components, those components don't have to be like application components. They could serve like both roles. They sometimes could be interactive, sometimes they could be not. So if you have two pages, you import the same component. On one page, it could have JavaScript. On the other, it may be not.
Okay. It's
So
flexible.
it's a bit like too crazy, but there is like a method to this madness. If you go back now to your page, to your like template of your page, in order to draw that colored rectangle on this button, so line 8,
Mm-hmm.
on this button you have to say client dot like load or something.
Dot load.
Oh, not dot, but semicolon. Yeah. So
Right. Just like
this
that.
is how you are telling it. So now if you save it and build it again,
Yeah. Now it's gonna show up. Magic. Where are you? Ah,
now we have a bunch of JavaScript.
it's
And
bloated.
right, so the idea is that
That's cool.
if we don't have any client directives in our website, the
Mhm.
result is going to be like just straight up HTML. And if we only have JavaScript in one component on one page, and it's going to generate JavaScript for just one component and one page.
Right. Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
bug that I was describing is that like when you're working on dev, it ignores client directives, and it's like everything is hydrated all the time. So it's like it's confusing that it was working on your dev machine, but once you deploy it, it's not working. So that's the bug. Like in Astro, in both
That is a
cases,
bug, right? Yeah, that's not
yeah.
a That's
Yeah,
not a
in both
DAG.
cases, it will not be interactive until you add. And again, the idea is that you can use this button on the other page, and on
Mhm.
that page is not going to be interactive. But on this one, because it has client
Mhm.
directive, it will be.
Right, right, right. And then I assume they have like client visible, client lazy or something.
Right. So this, I think it works differently a bit, like all over the like different frameworks. Um, I think how it works, it will in some of them. I never tested that, so it's a bit like speculative. So
Mhm.
I think in some of them it works like that. So like it will load your like view, for example, but it will not make this component interactive until like something happens. So
Mhm.
it's still kind of like it's fast to be interactive, uh, but yeah, if you have like a long page and like on the bottom you have like a sign up for
Yeah,
our newsletter or something like that,
can afford to wait for it.
yeah, that button could be like not not hydrated
Mhm.
until user actually gets there.
Right, right, right. Well, that's I mean, just, I'm struck by how Isles is this Astro is a direct competition with Astro, but yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's heard of Isles except the Vue community.
Yeah,
But they are open to using other frameworks, which is
except for React.
except React, which is so
I'm
interesting.
actually I'm actually joking that like when we were discussing that they said like if someone creates a merge like a pull request we will merge it, but it's like no one created it yet, so
Yeah. Whereas Astro was, yeah, very quick to say, yeah. I mean, React and Astro have a very interesting dynamic because with Astro ameliorates a lot of the bloat and slow performance of React, right?
I mean, in
I
my
think.
mind, I don't see like React Vue or even like Preact as exceptionally different in terms of bloating,
I see.
because for your like actually bloated pages, you will have maybe I don't know like half of megabyte of JavaScript code, like your own code,
Mhm.
and those 30 or like 70 kilobytes of frameworks are not going to be like doing
Uh,
any difference.
I
It
see.
makes a lot of difference when you're working on like this content heavy websites, that where the difference is like 0 kilobytes or like 5 kilobytes. That's a difference. For
I
a
see.
big app you have like 50 like 500
Packages and
kilobytes
everything.
or like 530. That's not going to matter at that scale.
Yeah.
That's why it's a bit like yeah, we know that React is fat, but it's like it's
It's not that
it's
bad
it's uh
compared. Yeah.
it's done for its own use case where it doesn't matter. That's
Mhm.
that's that's the way how I look at it.
Yeah, for the job I'm applying to, I analyzed their legacy code. It's pretty old stuff. It was from some stuff from when Flash died, and they had parsed it into HTML5, and they were using jQuery, and
Yeah,
it was so weird because I looked at I tried. I'm not really good at the dev tools yet, but I know that look at the network and I can see what's being the waterfall,
yeah.
and jQuery was 600 KB, and
Uh-huh.
for some reason they downloaded it twice. So, so
Different,
I'm
is
like,
it a different version or just twice the
it was
same
the same
file?
version, exact
Okay,
same
that's
version. Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, right. So I was like, I think that there's something wrong here. You could literally shave off 600 KB by
Yeah,
not
yeah.
importing it twice. So,
Yeah,
but
actually,
yeah,
I like for a joke, I added astro integration for jQuery, so you
uh-huh.
can use a jQuery as a framework.
Oh
You can
man,
use like
that's
you can use
brutal.
like React Vue or jQuery,
Oh
and
man.
huh?
Oh no, go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I was so surprised to see that jQuery is like twice the size of React.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
like minified and like gzip and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And this one, legacy one, also had older versions that they had to also still download because
Yeah,
parts of it were still using older jQuery. So it was spaghetti code for sure
yeah.
with a funky architecture. But I did notice that Svelte so Astro and state management are not really that great, I heard, but Svelte state management works out of the box apparently. Solids also works right out of the box. With Vue and React, they would have to do some sort of engineering to bring that, to allow Pinia from Vue as the state manager for Vue. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Solid just works right out the box with state management in Astro and Svelte. So
Right. So I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about because it's I was going to somewhere with this like with this like island architecture idea is that uh, right. So the thing that we were looking at like at IELTS website is that you said, oh, like all the navigations are like super fast, and there is
oh yeah.
only and the only way to do that is to have like JavaScript in charge of your navigation. And the problem there is that, okay, so if we're working on island architecture and we have like this, I don't know, like a button, and this button could show like a form that's like for like email sign up or something like that, right? So that makes kind of like perfect sense. And that's actually where you would like go into like maybe like vanilla JavaScript or like smaller frameworks. There's like Alpine or whatever the frameworks that just do show height or something like that, right?
Right,
And
right,
like
right.
maybe like form
Few
validation.
lists.
Yeah. So that's where all the sizes matter, and it actually like makes sense for you to have on the same website to have like different frameworks, because like okay, but on this page we only use Preact, for example, but
All
like
right.
once we're navigating to this page, that's like a whole page that like has some kind of like dashboard and all that stuff. That's where we have our like React libraries. That's where we like drawing charts or like doing, I don't know, like all the like dashboard stuff, like
Yeah.
React Query or something like that. That's like
Yeah.
more oriented
Highly,
for that.
yeah.
Mhm.
Highly dynamic.
Yeah, and like for that page, it doesn't make sense to use React, and that's why like support of multiple frameworks actually like makes sense. And it makes sense because once you're clicking on dashboard link, you destroyed everything that you had on your like email sign up page. And once you're on a dashboard and you go back to like front page or something, you destroy everything that you had for a dashboard. And the tricky question becomes like, how do I not destroy stuff?
Yeah.
And the most obvious one, so like the Fireship.io, like YouTube, he said, okay, I have my website, but there's like an icon of like people who sign in, and this icon should be there like
Right.
all the time, even though
If they're
people
logged
are
in.
like navigating.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So
And
persistent state somewhere in
right. And
yeah.
it should be persistent in terms of like your JavaScript. So if you like created an object, that object is preserved. You can like store it to local storage, but it's not the same. You have to like destroy it and create a new one, destroy it and
Yeah.
create a new one. But if you create like window dot something, and it like, will that object exist, or will I go to a new window where it didn't?
Yeah. Right. So from my limited understanding, Svelte compiles all the way down to JavaScript, right? Including
Okay.
its writable stores, its state management. So
I'm not sure where you're going with this.
yeah, I know, me neither. So what I'm saying is that let's say you have a Svelte component in Isles, right, or Astro, and then another page, split around. So behind the scenes, even though you navigate away from it and the component is unmounted, right, I guess,
Right.
there's still Svelte in the background, in the
Right. So
vanilla
that's
JavaScript just managing your state for you.
yes, that's exactly the question of like,
Mhm.
how do I preserve something on the screen? How do I preserve something like in a memory? How
Yeah.
do I like if I have multiple components, how do they can kind of like talk to each other? Because
Yeah.
it's like you can't pass like prop or something, because like this thing is here, this thing is here. And if on the top you just have a template, HTML template, there is no like context object that you can use or something like that. So
Yeah.
there has to be like some higher level thing that uh, and then the question is like, where do you draw this line? And all of the talk about like MPAs and SPAs is like, so we are an SPA side. We decided that we don't trust browser with all of its back buttons and all that stuff. We will just
Mhm.
do everything ourselves. Like
Yeah.
we just like create the whole world, and then like if user navigates somewhere, we will just like we know what to do. We have
Yeah.
like a new page in
Prevent
memory,
default.
old page in memory. We do like vdom diff and all of that stuff.
I see. I see.
And the MPA people are like, no, this is like completely like too much work. Let's
Mhm.
just create the whole page, and once you need a new page, like you create a new one. But there is like a always kind of like middle ground between all of
Yeah.
this. I think like Rich Harris called it like a transitional apps.
Transitional apps. Yeah, I remember that talk. He's like hashtag transitional apps. It's like, I can't think of a better name, can you guys? But we'll use it. And then it didn't blow up.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, it is happening. Yeah, they're meeting in the middle.
yeah, and they're meeting from different directions. That's what's happening. Is like Next.js is SPA app that just or Nox or something like that, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it's SPA app that is in charge of your whole browser experience,
Yeah.
but it runs on the server once before you're like opening the page, and you
Right.
can set it up so it's just like returns empty HTML, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
just hydrates everything like in JavaScript.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of like one direction, and the other direction is like, no, we create the whole page, but when you click on a button, we don't want to do navigate like full navigation. Maybe if you're like on a GitHub, right, and
Mm.
you're clicking between like commits, files, and I forgot like checks or something like that. They have like four tabs. You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about? Like a
Yeah, yeah.
full pull request.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're like, why do we need like full page navigation
Right.
if we can just like re-render that part of it?
Mhm, mhm.
So you would create this kind of like this whole thing. You will create it as like as a JavaScript application,
Uh-huh.
and you will handle kind of like on click events inside of this thing. And
Mhm.
you will go and like ask for like list of commits, and you will render commits. You will ask for like
Mhm.
list of files, and you will render list of files.
Yeah.
In terms of like how GitHub actually does it, they use Turbolinks, I think it's called, and
Okay.
it actually
Yeah.
doesn't do much on JavaScript. It will just ask for HTML on the server, and it
Mm.
will just do like inner HTML. So if you had like some state,
Interesting.
it will be kind of like destroyed and lost. But you can see like how it's like
Yeah.
coming from the like different
Yeah, yeah,
angles.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know the MPA templating engine game is getting better. I know there's, you know how the spa is instant navigation without reloading. I think there's a I just heard of an MPA like software. I forget which language it uses, but it does that on the MPA side.
Right,
So
and there are like different
that's
ways.
pretty
So
cool.
the
Yeah.
one that I described, and like the one that you can do in like Astro or Fresh, is you can create
Mhm.
like your GitHub like pull request kind of like island,
Yeah.
and there you can like manage all of this state, and you
Mhm.
don't do full page navigation, but you require JavaScript for in order to like for this thing to work.
Yeah.
And now you're saying, okay, but what if I go? I want to go to my settings. I'm
Mhm.
not on the exactly the same page. I'm just like switching between tabs. I want to go to like completely different page.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where it becomes interesting. And the answer is like, as like the more stuff that you wanna switch on the like on the browser,
Mhm.
the higher your kind of like the bigger your island becomes. If that
Mhm.
makes like sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, from what I can tell, the Astro folks are definitely saying up front, this is better for mostly static stuff. You can push the bounds, and you can even do simpler e-commerce apps with this. But and I think their point is, or Fred Schott's point is like, not most of the web is actually not that dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So they're like, why aren't we addressing this market? Why are we turning right away to these bloated frameworks to do stuff when it's too complex and it's not necessary and it's slower?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a pendulum like swinging, and like
Yeah.
everyone is like, oh, we need to do everything like this way. No, we need to do everything like this
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
It's like, so when everything became a single page app, like for example, our like landing page is single page app, and
Yeah.
it's a bit silly. It's like for
Yeah.
Google, it
Yeah.
has to go to like and like run up like Chrome to render it and all that stuff. It's like this page, like it doesn't benefit. Like the user doesn't benefit from us using React. We
Mhm.
do. Like we as the developers, we don't want to have different pages in different languages.
Mhm.
uh, the like proper solution, like when React was just starting, was just to create new like landing.html, and you would just like write it as an HTML. And when people are coming to your landing page, you just serve this file instead of like starting React.
Mhm. Mhm.
And like,
Right.
yeah, that worked at the time, but like no one wants to write those HTML files.
Oh. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting.
And that's how everything became written in React. But like then someone came and like, but we need to generate HTML. We need like for this page to have like this title, or for this page to have like this content for like SEO purposes, or for this page to have
Mhm.
like social media like
That's a
image
good
and all that
point.
stuff. And they're like, we can probably render like React to string. It's going to be like slow and
Interesting. I didn't know that.
huh?
I didn't know that. All this thing, the last 5 minutes that you've been talking about, I wasn't aware that.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
is like a bit of history,
yeah,
like how
strings.
it kind of happened. I'm like simplifying stuff, but that's like the evolution. And
Mhm.
before we actually had like render to string in React, what we would do is we would run browsers ourselves and
Mhm.
just like save it as a file and like HTML file, and like a server would send you HTML
Oh,
file
that's
that we
hilarious.
kind of like pre-rendered.
That's funny. Yeah,
Like
like
on
backwards.
site, I think you still have like a checkbox that is like, do you want to pre-render your web pages? And it will do
Wow,
that like for
that's
you. It
funky.
will go to, like to Chrome and like
Yeah,
create a like static HTML file.
yeah. I mean, again, that legacy code base that I was working with, I was so struck by it because they literally like did all their HTML dynamically using JSON data files and then like JavaScript, and I was like, you just created the entire like interactive simulation with JavaScript, and I was like, don't you think we could move a little bit more where we can see a little bit more of the structure of the project with, I guess, HTML, right? But yeah, they everything was, it's like a mental thought exercise that you have to do in your head. You're like, oh, okay, this, it's tough. So I especially if you're an artist and you're like, okay, can I see the project? And you're like, oh shoot, it's all in JavaScript. Like there's no way you can do this. Let me just give me the asset and I'll do it for you. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's how like all of these things were like happening. And like on the like traditional website, so like MPA as a term kind of like happened after became a thing. Before
Mhm.
that, that was just a website. No one called it
Yeah.
MPA because like every website was MPA.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Interesting.
yeah, and on that side, those people wanted like more and more reactivity and like more and more like interactions on
Of
all that
course.
stuff.
Yeah.
They were good at rendering HTML templates fast, but those HTML templates should have been like doing something after like the browser is loaded. So like I don't know
Hydration.
if yeah, I don't know if you remember it, but like in the olden times, when you open the page, it will open up and will show some kind of like curly braces and all the like some kind of like template like local language, like I don't know, like something like title underscore English, as like literally you will see it on the screen, and then like JavaScript will kick in, and you will
Ooh,
see the proper title.
a flash of something
Yeah.
really
So
not that
the
great.
thing was that like the JavaScript app was completely detached from server side
Hmm.
rendering. So a server would render like HTML really fast, but they didn't know, like, for example, what language you were using. So they had to do some kind of like template string that would be replaced on JavaScript end.
I see.
Yeah,
I
and
see.
that's
Wow.
kind of like Angular, I think,
Hmm.
as far as I remember, kind of like how it came up. It looked as HTML template that you would generate on the server, and if you
Hmm.
wanted like, so they still do that. So like if you go to something like Ruby on Rails, they have their own kind of like framework,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
you're generating all the like state and interactions on the server, and
Hmm.
then just like JavaScript frameworks kind of like make sense of what you wrote in
Yeah.
Ruby. So
Uh-huh.
you show like something like you have like I don't know, like data attribute, basically like show this on hover or something like that. And JavaScript just knows, and like a Bootstrap, I think, like Bootstrap JavaScript, like part of it,
Hmm.
it still knows how to like show a dialogue. So you render like the whole model or something like that on the server, but then JavaScript knows that you only need to show this part. But when user clicks, you show like the rest of it and all that stuff. And I think
Hmm.
there are like multiple things of that, but like I remember like Bootstrap doing that, and I think now it's like Daisy UI or something like that is doing that.
Right.
So there is like a different language of like how you would communicate from the server, which parts are like
Yeah.
interactive, and you can't do like the whole SPA experience like that, because you will send like I don't know, like 2 megabytes of HTML
Hmm. Hmm.
just in case if someone clicks like, if you open like a landing page but someone wants to go to a profile, you need to send profile like template,
Uh-huh.
and your JavaScript library should know that if you click on this, shows like this template and all that stuff. And
Hmm.
this actually like how we used to write it on like from
Hmm.
the like MPA side of things. And that's why everything is kind of like clashing as like, okay, but what if the language that we talk like between all of this stuff is JavaScript, but we just
Hmm.
run this JavaScript on the server, we run just JavaScript on the client, and that's where we are at right now. So like
Yeah.
you saw that like this template that you wrote, just because we added like client directive to it, it
Yeah.
became like out of the template, it became like like a app component.
Right. 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 Yeah. That's cool. Now, I have a question for you about state again. Like,
Sure.
do you think that server so MPAs tended to keep state in a database, right? Is that generally?
That's a really interesting question. Is like what's the role of the state? Because state basically like there are two states. So one
Mm.
state is kind of like server state, is like I don't know how
Yeah,
many users we have,
data. Yeah, yeah.
like list of your friends on Facebook or something like that.
Right, right.
And there is a
Or how much you have in your bank account. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And there
Mhm.
is a state of like I'm opening up this model. It's like
Right, which is more on the client side.
right. So it's like server doesn't store in a database if you open the model or not.
Hmm.
And it's not storing like the uh or maybe it is. I was going to say like it doesn't store what you have like typed in the field, but like Gmail does. When you type something for
Okay.
email, it
Yeah.
stores your draft, right?
Right, right, right. And
So
then parses it and uses it
what
on
is
you.
the state? Is the draft that's stored on the server is the state, or the like the text that you're typing right now is the state?
Right, right, right. Yeah. Well, I guess I would say it depends on the time and depends on because yeah, like you said, a draft needs to be retrievable at any point in the future. So maybe categorize it more roughly as state on the server. So there's state on the server. You could have or in a database, and then there's the client side um, state, and they can constantly interact, right? That's
Yeah.
not a problem. Okay, so yeah.
This is like a huge issue actually. Like
Mhm.
I watched like recently quick team did a video about like, no, we actually don't want to go to server for that. We want to create like a server worker that will like keep our cache, but like then it will later like
Right, right.
invalidate that cache and all that stuff. So it's like it
Uh-huh.
is like a like I don't know, like state and caching, all of that stuff. It's always kind of like a complicated problem that
Complicated.
you
Mhm,
you
mhm.
need to figure out. And yeah, so it's I guess we can probably
Yeah.
try to build something like a bit stateful, and
Yeah,
we can talk through that. Do you want
definitely.
to try to do something like that?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see. So how about you can tell me what you're envisioning and I'll try to implement it with your
Right.
help.
So it could be something as simple as, I don't know, like mobile, menu where you click on it and it like shows your, you know, like how on the mobile you usually have like a three lines or something like that instead of
Oh,
like
little
the whole
hamburger
menu.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, hamburger. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Let's do it on the, I guess,
Or maybe it's
about.
a layout. It's like a header stuff. Yeah, so wrapper is the thing that turns it into like two columns, which I find really confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing. Let's kill
Or
it.
not. So maybe it's just for navigation. Yeah, their layout is like too complicated to understand what is happening.
Yeah, it'll take a little while to dissect. And it's funny because it applies it automatically.
Yeah,
So I can't like disable it. That's funny. Okay, well I guess I can just throw it in here. Oh, you said go to the layout and we can go up here and get a hamburger icon.
right. Let me pause it for a second.
Sure.
So now we're working on template part. So it can't be interactive.
Oh, right.
So we need to create
So
like
I
a
need to
header
create a
component
component.
first.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's right. So let's just call this like a nav
Uh-huh.
bar. Okay. Just copy.
Right. So yeah, it's not page anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it will have like it'll have a button, but instead of like console log, it will change like a state from like toggled or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Is open or something.
Okay, so I guess I could grab a SVG real quick.
Right. It doesn't have to be pretty, but
Yeah.
the hamburgers are probably pretty popular options.
To make a real hamburger. Okay, how about let's just pick this one.
That's a cool website. I never tried that.
Yeah, Anthony Fu wrote that.
Oh,
So let's just do that, I guess.
uh-huh.
Turn it into an anchor. And so on click, I guess we'll do something like sorry, my view is a little rusty, so we'll say.
Mine is worse. So you're whatever
So,
you do, I'm going to believe it.
okay, I'm gonna put a div around it. When in doubt, throw it in a div.
That's usually how it works, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll say like VF a little Boolean flag. Click open, open. Okay, then I jump up here and I'll just we'll set it to
I knew
font.
that one. I was like, is it ref? Is it ref?
Okay, now I'm not used to importing ref from Vue. That sucks.
I don't know if that's like just a TypeScript thing or is it yeah. I don't know what's the right answer here, so sorry.
Oh yeah, this is so cool. It shows you how big Vue is. Okay, so we'll say just open dot value equals value.
Mhm.
Should do the trick, and then we'll just minimize this guy. And oh, okay, I can do this. That's right. We'll grab something else. What are we looking for? Like anything, right?
It could be just a text or like
Text.
I don't know, like home and about or something.
How about
Oh,
something
I
like this?
see. You're looking for the icon. I was thinking about links already. Sorry.
Okay, let's see if that's working. We're bringing it into the
Right. So we were going to put it
default,
in
right?
layout. Yeah.
Okay. It is cool that they have this, and then we say client
Yeah.
load, right?
Right. So the idea is that in my mind there are basically like three options that you should care about. Is like client load, client idle, and client visible. So
Right.
for the stuff that is like not on your screen at first, which kind of like footer and
Mm-hmm.
not like navigation, because navigation is going to be like there right away. You
Right.
could use visible,
Visible.
but for and then it depends on like how soon you think like interaction is going to happen. Like load will load it a bit faster, so you
Mm-hmm.
can, if you have like multiple components, you maybe like decide, okay, we need to load this one before the other one. And the idle is just like it will wait for browser to kind of like to to be done with rendering everything else. So it depending on like basically where on the screen it is, I would say it's like load, idle, and visible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm
it's
not an
nice.
expert, so this is just like my feeling on this. So,
It's nice, yeah, that there's only three.
I mean, there are like other ones, but you will know when you need those.
Okay.
Those ones are like pretty obvious if you
Now I
if
just
it's
want to make this color like white, but I think I can just
right. I'm not like entirely sure how that works. Oh yeah, and because of their their CSS, your thing is on the. I think you need to like remove flags or something like that.
Oh,
That
there
makes
it
it.
is.
Oh yeah, it's working, and it's white.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, yeah. One of them's white. The
So
other one.
can you just like inspect element to just see what KSS is like putting it there?
Yeah.
I think there's yeah. I'm not a fan of like default default template. Oh yeah, on a mobile view, it's not using flex. I guess we can keep it narrow,
Mm-hmm. Cool.
just so it doesn't look as bad.
Yeah. We couldn't even see it. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
so um
Right.
so we're
So
looking for some JS.
right. So now question is like, okay, if I click on this button, I want to see some like links or something, right? And the question is like, okay, so where is
Okay.
this state is kind of yeah. So let's add like one v-if and kind of like with just text or like home and about or something like that. So when you click on the menu, it kind of shows the links.
Okay. So this is the open one. Okay, so we should put something.
Yeah, it could be there. Yeah, just like put I don't know, like two divs. One is home and one is about something like that.
Okay. And then you said,
Yeah, it should be like it's only visible. Yeah, when we click on it, something like that.
okay, let's give
Hmm.
that a shot. It's ugly, but
I mean, yeah, it's
working.
probably like should be the different order. So like links probably should be it. I mean, it depends on the design, but
Let's do this. Oh well. Yeah, we could flex it over here, but
no, let's not like I'm not a CSS developer, so
mhm.
that's why I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is interesting. It says isle root.
yeah, so it's using like web components, I think, uh, and that's why it's named like that.
I
So
see.
like native components are lowercase one word, web components lowercase like words with dashes, and
Mhm.
framework components are like capital capital
That's
letters.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's
so
pretty
now
cool.
so now the question is like where this state lives. So imagine I'm on on a home page and I click on about. Should I be navigated on about page and my menu should close because I've destroyed the state and like opened new page, or
Right.
should that be preserved? So like if you write a like next or next tab, the default behavior would be that the menu will stay there, but it's just like the content underneath is going to change. But if you're on
Mhm.
MPA, because like the state is going to be destroyed, you
Yeah.
will like it will be kind of like closed automatically. But if you click on the
Mhm.
back button, it will be like open because on that page you have it open.
Right, right. So yeah, I think that is probably one of the biggest areas of what devs will have to grapple with when they use Astro or Isles.
Yeah.
Although since Isles is with Vue, I assume that they're going to build in some way to tap into state management real easily, so that you don't have to
Right.
like.
So in terms of state management, like how much did you manage your state right now? Like it was exactly as you would do it the other way, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't like complicated in that case.
Yes.
But what if you have
Cross component communication.
yeah. What if you have like two basically like two nav bars, and
Right.
once you click on one, like both of them should open. Kind of
Yeah.
like
Or
the
yeah.
uh-huh.
Or like you said, like is the user logged in? Then show
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
thing.
So
Yeah.
it's like we have two components that share state, and it's like okay, in order for them to share state, we're like where is this state should be stored, and it could be like in terms of like tree, right? It should be like is it here or or like lower than the tree or something like that. But the other question is like where is it stored over time when I'm navigating? Like should I lose my state or
Mm-hmm.
should I get back to my state when I press back button and all of that stuff? So it's like it's a really like this question has so many answers, and for something like Astro, they are working on tools that allow you to have this like turbo links or yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one I was thinking. I had just heard about. Yeah, Turbo is enables spa-like navigation.
Right. So that's from that side where the like Rails live. So I think Turbolinks is like coming from Rails.
Yes, uh-huh.
That's where like no, we do everything on like in Ruby. We just send HTML from the
Mhm.
server, but we have like a small library that kind of like understands what to do with this HTML and how to kind of like
That's pretty smart.
put
Yeah, it's
it put it
natural
together.
evolution. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
surprised actually it took them this long. I would think.
What took this long?
Actually, I don't know how old Turbo is, but I would.
Yeah, exactly. It's really old. That's
Oh,
the
okay.
thing. It's like it's before before React even existed. This
Wow.
sort of stuff, like maybe not exactly like Turbo, but this sort of approach was working.
Interesting. So maybe just the hype train just went nuts for spas. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's why
yeah.
a lot of people are so upset. They're like HTML first and like the JavaScript industrial complex is like running the show.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
because I mean, yeah, like you said, if it comes from both directions, the MPA, well, first, one of the first things they'd say, well, how do we enable spa-like navigation? Because that's something that people really seem to like.
Yeah.
So, okay. It's just people haven't heard of it or it just hasn't been hyped, I
Right.
guess.
So, in terms of like team behind Astro, they're pretty kind of like cold to the idea of doing something like that.
Oh,
But they had like few experiments. So, for example, like even Astro, like HMR, it actually works a lot of like multi-page navigation that is running inside of like a spa. So that they will go get like new data from the server. They will diff it kind of like in React or like VDOM. They will like compare it and only change the important stuff. And they
mm,
had like few experiments. So I was playing with like I think it's called like Astro Spa, like the npm package. So that one, if you create if you're reusing your layouts, and if on layout you have like a video player, that video player will be preserved between your navigations. So if we had this like nav bar that we just wrote,
mhm,
you will actually like click through the links and it will be preserved as it was in Next.
mhm.
So they have like few experiments on that, and like we saw that IELTS website is like was pretty quick on navigation. So
Yeah,
I'm sure they're using something like that for their own website.
yeah.
And this is where kind of like the threat is, because like what if I do multi-page apps that are really fast. They only download like just bits of JavaScript that you need,
Mhm,
but they also provide you like with SPA style navigation, and that's
mhm.
like that's the threat.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. On a little bit of a tangent, I have my doubts about IELTS living too long because it says here, I started working on IELTS because I wanted VitePress plus Astro using Vite instead of Snowpack.
uh,
Well, Astro is
Snowpack
using
was like
Vite.
years ago, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and Astro's the one with massive just acceleration of popularity. So
Yeah,
I
I
feel
should
like,
have mentioned that like earlier. I just forgot. But
mhm,
actually, Astro has like oh sorry, iOS has features that Astro doesn't.
it's
And
true.
for example, like HMR, like hot module reloading, it works way better than like Astro or Remix or something like that. That they're like that
Cool.
are focused more on like content. This is focused
Okay.
more on like SPA. So it's like it's IELTS is like uniquely kind of like interesting project, because it's like no, we only like this part from Astro. It's like we want to write like SPA kind of app, but we
Yeah.
want to use islands. So it's really you can like create like a real kind of like SPA style apps with IELTS compared to
Mhm.
compared to Astro.
Well, it's such a gentle learning curve for both IELTS and Astro.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you've looked at VitePress, but okay, so they use IELTS for dog fooding, but VitePress, yeah, but that one is very heavily for whatchamacallit, documentation sites. So,
Mhm.
but people use it for blogs and stuff. But I would now looking at this, IELTS is probably better for blogs.
I would say it's like there is like no universal solution right now, and the problem with universal solutions is they're bad at at everything.
Mhm.
And so right now we have kind of like this discrete like solutions. Oh, you can use like Astro, or you can use like IELTS or something like, or you can do Next. But at some point they will probably like start to share like more and more features between all of them, and it's going to
Mhm.
be okay. Uh, this is more toward yeah. You will be more like for docs side, maybe you should use this one. For something else, maybe you should use that one. So it's we're at a so early stage, and that's actually like the thing that I wanted to talk about with you is like, okay, should someone who is just starting or like or who's like a junior developer like even care about something like that? The problem is like if you're a senior developer and you like Astro, you can just say that we're using Astro and you will use Astro.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a junior developer and you say I want to use Astro, there's like, okay, what's that going to do? Like you don't have like kind of like power to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like and the question is like should you care? Because problem with like someone who is just starting, they don't usually have like enough weight of like you were describing. Okay, they have like this huge app that is like jQuery and all of that like stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
if you say something like, oh, I want to like rewrite everything into Vue, they are not going to listen to you like as much.
Yeah.
Or if you're lucky, they will say, okay, if you want to use that, try try it yourself. And then maybe there's like a problem that you kind of like can't solve because it's just like it's kind of like too high of like a level of problem.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's a very powerful question for junior devs because it matters a lot how their learning is gonna pan out by the approach they take. I mean, for me, my big breakthrough came when okay, so Vitesse template is by Anthony Fu, who's an amazing Vue developer. He did
Yeah.
Vue use the icons thing, Slide Dev, which is PowerPoint or slides for devs. I
Uh-huh.
haven't looked at that yet, but I heard it's pretty awesome. So he's like amazing. But I looked at Vitesse and I was like, whoa, what are all these things? I wasn't real good with Markdown, so a lot of the plugins intimidated me. He uses Uno CSS instead of Tailwind CSS.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I actually started with a vanilla Vue and I began adding Tailwind and I began adding different little plugins. And the more I worked in it, the more I was like, oh, I want this Vitesse plugin. Oh, I want this Vitesse plugin until I had almost created like a Vitesse Lite of my own. So I was like, okay, now I'm ready to use Vitesse. And then I was like, it's like driving, getting into a sports car and just like zooming around wherever you want. And I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And it's fast. My Lighthouse scores are good. Why wouldn't I make every site like this? I'm comfortable with it. Its performance is not bad, etc. So I might recommend that route for people who are interested in Vue, or maybe that would apply to React too. So, but Create React app sucks, so don't use Create React. Go straight to Next.js, right?
Right.
That's
So there is like a golden path, or like basically like what everyone is using, what you can get like the most help about, or like
yeah,
most Stack Overflow questions, all of that stuff.
most
And
jobs.
hopefully that's the same stuff that is gonna like is getting used somewhere like at work.
Yeah.
So you're getting. I think like the funniest criticism I remember like however like 8 years ago when React was starting, like Facebook developers were so upset that Facebook is migrating to React
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, I'm getting like proprietary experience on this tool that no one is using. I will never find a job that is using React because React is just a Facebook tool.
Oh, that's
It's
so
like it's
funny.
funny now how like things changed, but
Opposite.
you get the idea of like, okay, if I go to work to Google and they make me use Angular, this is like not marketable skill. That is
That's
like
right.
if I say like I have like 5 years of experience in Angular, and they're like, who cares? No one uses Angular. Why
Right.
would
Yeah, that's the whole reason why have some people have a hostility towards the framework wars. But yeah, I mean, speaking from Vue, and now seeing Astro and Isles, I might actually, instead of doing a vanilla Vue, I would encourage somebody to also learn concurrently or in a similar time Astro plus Vue or Isles plus Vue because it's so close to the foundations of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then you can gently and in your mental model as a beginner, it kind of almost helps to see these things isolated in islands. And
Yeah, and it's
So
interesting that you said about like HTML fundamentals.
yeah.
The like the most I don't know, like funny for me at least part is that Astro actually support .html files.
Hmm.
So if you have your old like website that is like written in I don't know, like just like Notepad, and you just like wrote the whole
Yeah, yeah,
website in
yeah.
HTML, you can save that HTML. Or even if you go to like your like published website, you can just like
Mhm.
save that published HTML. You can save it as like in your routes, like in Astro, and Astro will serve that file. So it's like is as close to HTML as possible, because there is like no other there is no closer way. It's like you can run HTML files in Astro.
Or you could just cut it and slap it in a
Right,
hot.
and exactly. Like once you have it, you're like, okay, so this is layout. I can put like this into
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
component. This is like
exactly.
this thing, and I this was written in like I don't know, like jQuery. I wanna try like Vue for
Yeah.
this interactive thing, and now
Mhm.
finally I fixed like this focus bug or something like that. That
Yeah.
was like there on my website for
Oh,
10 years.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like this is what's funny for me, because like when we were starting develop like um, at my time, when someone would start learning development,
Yeah.
they would learn like HTML and CSS and maybe JavaScript as a way to connect to your like PHP
Oh,
APIs.
that's
So
funny.
you will update just like a tiny bit, and you will probably use some kind of like jQuery plugin that does actual updating. So you don't really use jQuery or like JavaScript.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right. I mean, a little busy right now.
Yeah, I actually have to
I have
run
to
soon
hop.
as well. So,
Okay.
so I
Sorry.
I think that's our like last topic that we're going to cover. But
Lunchtime.
everyone was learning like HTML and CSS, and JavaScript was like kind of like afterthought, and you were just hoping that your backend has like all the like libraries that are doing it itself, or like you're just using like Bootstrap or something like that, where you just like created like a special class, or Bootstrap or jQuery. Bootstrap is like based on jQuery, so it's got almost the same thing
Yeah,
in my
that's
mind.
right.
So
That's
it's
right.
like jQuery UI or like Bootstrap, where you just put a special class that will make this button like fade when you click on it, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So you were kind of like how no like Tailwind right now. You just write a
Hmm.
class and you get like HTML, like CSS. You don't write CSS, you just write HTML classes.
Yeah.
That was the approach. So Tailwind is like basically like jQuery of the of CSS. So
Right.
like it
Right.
will just like write special classes, and like everything is kind of like magically working just
I
because
see.
there's like a library for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now everyone is starting from JavaScript or like TypeScript nowadays, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, HTML is that kind of like thing we're compiling into. Like you look at it when you're like debugging stuff, but it's like
So interesting.
who cares about that?
Are you talking about? Are you differentiating JSX from HTML? Because JSX is very common in the React components, for example.
Even if you're writing Vue, this is not HTML. You're not writing HTML.
Right. 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 Right.
You're
But it looks
writing.
just like it.
Yeah, yeah. There is no v-if tag in HTML.
Right. 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 Right.
It's like you're learning like JavaScript, how it works, and you're like using special JavaScript templates that turn
Yeah.
into HTML. That's like the difference in my mind.
Yes, then that is exactly correct. But I feel like you should know that. But I also feel like when I'm working in a Vue component or a Vue file, I don't even really think so much of it as like, oh, this is going to get parsed
Yeah.
and all that. I just think of it as HTML. So that's interesting.
Right. That's why I think like for uh, that's I think for you, or like people who like are like Vue. That's why for them like HTML
Or spell.
seems closer,
Yeah.
because the as I said, like before in before times, you would you would write your HTML exactly how you would have like your Vue template,
Hmm.
and everything will like just run on the browser. So I think Vue still has like this like like without build step like way to run Vue, like Petit Vue or something like that.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
was
So
inspired by Alpine, interestingly enough.
yeah. So
I
like
saw that and I was like, oh, that's easy. I'll do it in a weekend.
yeah. So Petit View is like how we used to kind of like think about interactivity. Is like you will just like add this class or add this like attribute, or like you will return like HTML, and then just like some library will go and like make sense of it.
Hmm.
So that's why Vue is like, in a lot of ways it preserves that kind of like mentality, and that's why like people who write Rails, for example, they love Vue and they don't want to go into React and like something that feels more JavaScript for them.
Yeah. Amongst other pain points
Yeah.
from
So
my personal experience. Yeah.
so anyway, so do you think you're like landing this Vue job? Do you think that it's like it in what way you would use kind of like this knowledge about like astro or like island architectures or all of the other ones like crazy ones like quick or something like, or solid, like
Mm.
how do you kind of like plan to use that time that you spent on Twitter like following all the all the news?
Yeah, that's a good question because parts of the team I know are rewriting the UI in Vue. The little interactive simulations are also being modernized. So because it's so dynamic, the simulations are very dynamic. I don't feel like Astros or Isles is the right approach for the gizmos.
Right. Okay. So I
Yeah.
want to challenge you on that.
Okay.
So, as I think the problem with Astro interactivity is like the navigation, basically between pages. But
Uh-huh.
once you're on the page, it's like it could be as interactive as you
Right.
want. If you're like navigating from that page and that content can be like safely destroyed, you won't kind of like lose anything if you like
Right.
if you're migrated to Astro. That the problem is with
That's a good
uh,
point.
yeah, because how do I say it? If you are on like a YouTube page, right, and you want to post like a comment,
Hmm.
this could be an Astro app. That's like there's nothing kind of like stopping
Stopping.
you from
Yeah.
that, because like YouTube is like it's just like a video tag, like the video itself, and like the
Yeah.
comments are just like some HTML that you like that is like an app kind of like component,
It's on a database somewhere, on a
right?
server somewhere.
But if you wanna go from your like a page where you were watching video to like browse page, and if the components if comments and video is destroyed, it's fine. But
Right.
if it's starting to play like picture in picture mode, and you can still kind of like interact with it, all that stuff, that's where you need like more JavaScript, and maybe like you need
Yeah.
more than Astro can provide right now.
Oh yeah. Or is this similar? Is something like you watch up to 1 minute 39 and then you go off the page and then you hit back and it brings you right back there.
Right. So
So
that part is actually it's kind of like as Gmail drafts.
mhm,
If you write it to preserve on the server, it will
yeah.
work like that, and it's actually it makes a lot of sense to do that, because
Mhm.
you could be opening that video on your phone,
Right.
and there is no way to preserve the like there's like the JavaScript object that you have in your browser. It's not going to affect your phone.
It's got to be on the server side.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a database. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, performance is important. I was thinking of school districts with bad Wi-Fi, with like, hundreds of students on the Wi-Fi, and the experience with the Gizmo, it took a minute, almost 2 minutes for fully interactive, which is awful, right? At slow 3G. So yeah, I mean, if Astro does have all those, but like you said, I'm very curious about when you're actually in production and you start hitting these limits that you didn't see were there, and you're like, why did I do this? So, I guess I
Yeah.
would use Astro in like a tiny in a personal project or a small scale and just see where are those things where it starts to hit the limits, and uh, is that a deal breaker, or yeah. So
Yeah. So like my question was like, are you just procrastinating that you're watching this Twitter like new technologies, or is it actually like I don't know, is this actually will define your like job in a few years? How you kind of like look at it?
um I mean, from my perspective, I feel like Vue, yeah, you're right. It's not lightweight, but I don't feel like it's going to be impacting performance to the point where there's a strong pressure to find a different approach, like an islands approach with Vue. I don't really see that happening just because Vue keeps getting faster and faster and smaller and smaller. Interestingly enough, Vue Evan is exploring a non-VDOM approach, Vue Vapor. Hopefully, I mean, I don't think that's going to come up for at least 2 years because people have so much fatigue from the Vue to Options API to Composition API. People are still very mad about that. And the ecosystem Nux, it's like, is it even summer? Nux was supposed to be out. Vuetify was supposed to be out. Those are two huge pieces of the Vue ecosystem that a lot of newbies would say, oh, it's not out yet. I don't know if I want to start Vue because Vitesse does almost everything that Nux does. Nux
Uh-huh.
3. Um, so yeah, I do like that Astro almost relegates the JavaScript frameworks to just a specific part of the tool chain, and it doesn't matter if you're using React or Vue. So it almost, in a sense, Astro just like comes in and says, "Look, guys, you're not all that. You need help here. Let me help you here, and we'll meet in the middle. And you guys, are not the be all end all of front end web dev." I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was talking about more like in a meta sense in terms of like your career, like how important that is, and that's I was like at the Remix meetup yesterday, and we
Nice.
like chatted with some of the like attendees, and it's like it was cool
Kent,
to find some
Kent Dodds, isn't he in Utah?
yeah, Ken Sidas, yeah, he was presenting there.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, and it was cool that like to find like some people who are like, do you know that weird like language like Gleam that is like kind of like Rust like but compiles to Erlang? Yeah, yeah, I know that. Oh, cool, cool, cool. Do you know that weird like Elm language that is
Oh,
kind of like ML like a functional programming that's like compiled to JavaScript? Yeah, yeah, I know that.
Elm
So
architecture.
it's
Yeah.
interesting that there is a I don't know, like people who actually like really care about all of this stuff and like really follow all of the news, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's kind of like pays out. So I personally was the one who was like responsible for us to switching to so our CTO was like, okay, we need to switch to TypeScript, and was like, okay, once we are doing that, why don't we switch from like Knockout to React? So I had like a call
Right.
where I was like telling to my CEO that this is why I think it's cool, and all of that stuff. And it's like at some point, like I was like, okay, we should try Tailwind, and it was like just starting it. And so it's like
Uh-huh.
it's cool to like see your kind of like this like I don't know time spent on Twitter to be validated, and it's like okay, like
Yeah, yeah.
TypeScript, React, and Tailwind is like the framework, and
Oh.
we started on it like before everyone else did.
Oh, you do? Okay. Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's always like, and there's a risk of like, okay, let's do everything in like in CoffeeScript or something like that, and like it went completely nowhere. And
Oh,
so
yeah. Yeah.
it's always we actually didn't do anything like production for CoffeeScript, but we had like a plugin that was written in CoffeeScript. So,
Yeah. Oh, well,
but
oh,
uh-huh.
go ahead. Go ahead.
And I think it's basically like a balance. So it's cool to know all of this stuff that you can talk with like your fellow developers and like discuss what you think.
Yeah,
But it also can like impact your kind of like
for
job,
sure.
and impact what kind of like companies you work on, and
Yeah,
so
yeah, definitely. I was just curious about maybe this might be a nice way to kind of have a fun little summary, but that's a little different from what we've been talking about. But if you look at Svelte and Solid and Vue and React, am I missing any? Probably those are the big four. You know, how do you see it all playing out?
Yeah, that's
Because
a
I definitely have an opinion, but I want to
that's
hear
like
yours.
a hot topic that I don't know, I don't know if I want to get into. But to finish my thought is like,
Yeah,
I think it's kind of like important to have a balance and like and bet on like crazy technologies where you think that your bet will like pay off,
yeah,
and just keeping an eye on like stuff. So like
yeah.
my kind of like blog that I have is like I first wrote it in like Next.js, then I rewrote it in Astro. It's like it's small enough that I can do that, and like I don't risk anything, if that makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
so I would recommend people to try this stuff and to have like an opinion on that, that you
Mhm.
can at least like use on your interview and like talk with like because when I
Definitely.
uh, when I interview someone and they're I don't know like passionate and they care about all of this stuff and they kind of like go extra mile, it's like a good kind of like check mark in my book.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when
Means
people
they're
are
fan.
like, no, 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 I just do like the minimal possible stuff on my work, and I don't care about anything that's going to happen in 5 years.
Mhm.
Once the whole industry is switched to something else, then I will learn it.
Yeah.
It's a fine approach, but it's not getting like a bonus points, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I'm fairly aligned with you on that. I think I definitely keep my finger on the pulse of what's going out there. And like you said, sometimes you just got to take a risk and dedicate some time to learning something that you think is promising if you trust yourself. So yeah, I kind of made a bet on Vue. I kind of made now that we're talking about this. Oh, you probably saw huge improvements, right, in performance going from Next to Astro, like
Yeah, yeah,
Theo
yeah.
did. You
Yeah, it
did?
was like I don't know, like 3 seconds to interactive or something like that for a simple like just I don't know like a less than one screen like site. So it's like how why?
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah. But then now with the Astro, it's
Yeah,
snappy.
now it's like whatever the like 0.8 or whatever they're
Yeah.
like the yeah, yeah.
That alone is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
I was, yeah.
it's not like the funny thing is it's like it's for poor like Moto 4G or whatever the phone is that they're testing on.
Yeah.
It's for those users. So like if you're
Yeah.
opening
Yeah.
it on your M1 computer, it's like Next is probably like even faster because it's like you don't
Right.
have to wait for like navigation. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
If you have a more global market that you're
yeah.
trying to reach. Yeah.
Anyway, so this is how I'm going to dodge the framework war answer, and I would have to go in like in a few minutes. So
Yeah.
I guess that's probably it for now. I'm
All right.
glad that we could like talk about it and like try this. A bit buggy, like you saw like few issues with it,
Mhm.
like when Windows like it wouldn't build from uh,
The
for
solid
first
plugin.
attempt, but it worked on second attempt. So, but this is like I think it's important to know about this stuff because I think the island architecture is the thing is like it's so obvious. So I think the other tools are going to say, why don't we do that? It's kind of
Right.
like it's kind of stupid that we don't do this. And like Solid
Right.
Start already kind of like has similar kind of like
Ooh.
features in works. And
Solid would be unbeatable performance wise.
right, and something like something like Nuxt, there's like nothing kind of like stopping them too much to
Yeah.
to to go into like having just like another option of like building into like island architecture or
That's a
something like
great
that.
point because the Isles, whoever made this one, the Massimo, yeah, he was looking at Astro and was like, why don't I build my own little engine or whatever you call it, Islands interactivity engine? So if it's all open source, like you said, other people can pretty easily add those things. So, oh, that's my stomach grumbling. But yeah, it's been really awesome to actually dive into Isles and actually get my hands dirty in it. So next steps will maybe be Astro. Did you have any buggy experiences with Astro?
I mean, yes,
Just
of
kidding.
course.
Yeah. Okay.
I started when they were like, I think even before they were beta or something. So
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, for somebody, a junior dev who doesn't heard the term inner islands architecture and it's like, what is that? I hope this really cleared up a lot because for me, I feel real comfortable now with where it's going and just knowing that it's there if I need to write something very mainly static. Yeah, but for
yeah,
now, I'll happily tool around in with my Vitesse setup. Yeah, happy with
yeah,
it.
that's great. Yeah, I mean, I will try to put like links to everything that we
Just
do,
thinking of
including
that.
my my Astro videos.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah, and yeah, hopefully we can do kind of like more discussions like that. Maybe next time you can, I don't know, like show something to me, because like in terms of view, I'm really like underqualified. I only know like a bits of like that that I learned,
Yeah.
because we are working on like on the view version of our like package. So unfortunately, I had to learn it.
Yeah. Well, definitely, and I think the things that I can share with you and have more expertise in are things like SVGs, Lottie animations, um, uh, yeah, creating vector art, pixel art. So that's for sure. And then any sort of animation or interactivity, I'd be happy to. I'll probably have to prep something for it, but like
Yeah.
Green
Well,
Sock, the animation
what is?
Green Sock. It's called GSAP, Green Sock
Yeah,
animation.
I think I heard about Lottie, but not about Green Sock.
Yeah, Green Sock is all about like the shape of your animation. So if it's linear, it's just gonna move like this, right? But if it's easy in, it's gonna slow and then come out, right? So it's just dealing with the way motion accelerates and changes,
Okay,
which is not
so
that great with vanilla CSS. So that's why these libraries came in to make it better. Yeah.
I see, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah. Thank you for you to waiting through like to set everything up.
We all start somewhere, and I feel like this was really successful and fun. So at least for us. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Bye bye.